everyone, this is Laura Elizabeth. Welcome to our online seminar. Today we are doing the 5 keys to creating your abundant career today. We're aiming to give you about a 1-hour online workshop or seminar here, and we're going to be discussing career and actual money strategies to help you develop what I call your dharmic career. Above and beyond abundant career, I'm doing a lot of training right now, especially in my tarot mastery group, believe it or not. I teach tarot cards to people and have a tarot mastery group that I run. And we're talking in the tarot mastery group right now about the dharmic career and the concept of the dharmic career. This webinar can show you how to make a lot of money and make it in complete congruent alignment with your dharmic path, with your life purpose. Your dharma is very simply your work on the planet in terms of, like, if you believe in your soul path and your life purpose. Your dharma is that which is your work today, tomorrow, the next day, day in, day out, throughout your life. And so your dharmic career is a career that it's a way I've just developed of saying basically the career that you're supposed to be doing, the career that you're supposed to be building out on the planet. And for a lot of people, unfortunately, that's different from what they're stuck doing. So hopefully this seminar, if you're one of many of us who have experienced or are experienced being stuck doing something for money or for work, for whatever obligation, whether it's a money obligation or not, people over obligate themselves to things that really aren't, very congruent with the life path all the time for many reasons. But if you're one of those people, this workshop is going to help you find your way back to that dharmic career path, which always, always, always is also going to be an abundant career for you, because abundance is the route to living into your dharma in the most fullest way possible. We can live into our dharma, we can live into our life purpose and create and develop around that life purpose with the most congruence, the best degree of fulfillment when we are in abundance. So the task with the dharmic career, and this is a big kind of, this is a sort of a perspective changer for a lot of people, especially in the spirituality and metaphysical arts and healing arts industries, which are primarily, I have practitioners in those industries that I teach career and marketing. And, when you're in one of those industries, we have a tendency, it's kind of like a myth in the metaphysical arts and the spiritual arts and the holistic healing arts. We sort of have this myth that we believe that our dharmic career doesn't have anything to do with money. In other words, if we feel that our life calling is to go teach Kundalini yoga classes, or to go do craniosacral therapy, or to do psychic readings, whatever we feel our life calling is in our industry, somehow the message got put through that, because our life purpose is so much bigger than money, therefore it doesn't have anything to do with money. And therefore we shouldn't strive to be financially wealthy if we're striving to do our dharmic career. And that's the biggest myth out when you really think about it. And what I've managed to do, I can't believe, I just counted up before I started teaching here with you. I have been doing my own thing, and some of the, some images to do with some of the things I've created and developed and directed and marketed over the last 8 years are on your screen, but it's 8 years now, and I just, that's really amazing to me. It's 2015, and I started all of this in 2007 when I chose to have a career in the first place. I'd been home for a few years with my children, and my daughter was 3. She was my youngest, and I went and did my yoga teacher training at that point. And before having children, up until 2007, I had had a background in academics. I had attended many colleges and universities, but I ended up at Northern Arizona University here in Flagstaff, Arizona. But I'd been on Harvard-sponsored archaeological digs in the Middle East, and I'd experimented and played around with careers in anthropology and folklore. And finally, as interesting as all of my academic work was, I simply found that at the end of the day, the tarot was even more fascinated to me. And subtle body energy was extremely fascinating to me too. So I started taking yoga classes. I became a tarot reader and teacher. And, I did my coursework, my degree work in university, but really and truly what had always been profoundly interesting to me was intuition and energy work and pushing the boundaries of what we accept as our normal experience as human beings. So, fast forward to after kids, and all of a sudden I decided, wow, I don't want to be in academia all the time anymore because I've got 2 children. And if I were in academia all the time, essentially, I know I wouldn't be spending as much time with my kids as I would do if I had a career path that had a little more freedom of time. So because I had kids, I did this switch from, my ultimate goal in my academic career is I wanted to get a PhD. I wanted to live in a university environment forever. I loved university. But then I had children and I loved my kids more and I wanted to spend time with them. I realized that time is the only resource that we have on the planet that is not renewable. You don't get time back, right? If you've got a baby daughter who's 2 years old, she's never going to be 2 again. Right, so so from my perspective, because time was the only limited resource, which is true, money isn't a limited resource. You may feel that your time and your money are severely limited. Many of us do, but really and truly, when you think about it, money is a renewable resource. You can always go make more money, right? You can't go get more time. So that distinction there kind of keyed me in to what my dharmic path was while my children was young. And for me, that was to say no thank you to the world of academia for a while, because I realized that the academic world, if I really wanted to be a part of it later on, was still going to be there, right? So the thing that very often I feel like people in that position learn right away is it's really okay to make mistakes, even if you want to say no thank you and pull back from something. It doesn't mean that it was a bad idea. It just means that you're looking for a better time or something like that, right? So, coming from that perspective and just giving myself permission to pull back from an academic career that I had previously been very heavily invested in, because my children were a surprise for me. So, that I was finishing with my academic career, when that happened was a major identity change for me. And as a 20-something female, it was quite a blow to the identity. I mean, it probably, by some people's standards, probably coincided with a midlife crisis. But we've all been there at some point, right? Maybe you're there right now where you're going, oh my gosh, in some sense, what I am actually doing with my career path and what I am choosing to invest my time in right now, I'm not entirely happy with. I would like to be somewhere different than where I am, or I would like to spend my time in a different way than I am, or I would like to earn a different amount of money than the amount I currently earn. And all of that can be true. And the nice thing right away when you acknowledge something like that for yourself is that you are kind of seeding freedom of choice back into your energy body. So when you simply say, I choose to aspire to a greater income than I currently have. Just by saying that, I choose to aspire to increasing my income, says one thing to your unconscious. It says, you choose. This is your choice. This is your manifestation. And in some way there, you are acknowledging that you have that choice and you are empowering, even in your frequency, even in your energy body. When you say something like that, it's like you're activating and empowering sort of this magical energy that is nothing but your own creation. And sometimes you can even feel the difference when you're empowered energetically in this way. But when you make that choice, you then, your brain wave pattern changes. Your brain patterns change in state and frequency, and all sorts of things kind of light up all over your energy body just when you say, I choose a greater income. Because in that, you are acknowledging that you have choice. You are acknowledging that you have power and that you can make that decision. You are also acknowledging there that when you choose something like that, everything about your energy fields, and you open up and you might be able to see now possibilities and potentials that may have been there yesterday, but you couldn't see them because you weren't looking for them. When you make a choice consciously and you state it, it's like this magical part of your brain then goes, oh, okay, that's what we're choosing. Well, I'm going to go look for that now. Whereas your brain had no concept of whether or not to look for that yesterday. Okay, so I'm not a psychologist, but most of you get the gist of what I'm saying. What you choose to empower for yourself is a very powerful thing. So in 2007, when I figured out that I didn't want to have a degree in academia anymore, what I realized was the more important thing for me was freedom of time and congruence with who I really was. After having 2 children, and I was a frequent shopper at places like Whole Foods, and I was really getting excited about the potential we have on the planet right now for healing and holistic health. And now I just started to direct the Holistic Arts Journal in addition to the things you see on this screen. But all of that was super in the forefront of my brain after having 2 babies to keep healthy for a few years. And that just had a bigger chunk of my consciousness than it ever did before having children. So my choice in 2007 was to align with that in a more congruent way in what I wanted to do with my career. I didn't want to study books and stories for the rest of my life. You know, I love doing that, and I love doing that over at Virtual Tarot School now. I found the appropriate place for that academic love in my life. So I still get to play with the tarot frequently, every day, because I chose to go create my own thing so I could do what I wanted to do with my academic pursuits. And I did the same thing with my holistic arts pursuits by becoming a yoga teacher first, but then going and creating the Flagstaff Yoga Festival. And it was this whole world that I created. Now we're doing the Holistic Arts Journal, and the Holistic Arts Journal conferences is sort of the outgrowth of that 5 years later. But at the time, that gave me freedom to play in the realm of the holistic arts. And it didn't feel any more like work than being completely absorbed in the study of holistic health that I'd already been, just simply browsing aisles in Whole Foods and all the things I did before I made that conscious choice to go into that work a little more deeply in my career. You guys have all done this too. I mean, if you have a career that focuses on the holistic arts or the spiritual arts or the metaphysical arts or the intuitive arts, I will tell you guys, you are some of the most conscious, most aware, most free to choose your reality people on the planet. I love working with people like us because we've already usually had so much experience making choices. Otherwise, we wouldn't have ever ended up in the metaphysical arts or the intuitive arts or the holistic arts or the energy arts. We just wouldn't have ended up there if we weren't some of the most conscious people on the planet already, right? So you guys are some of the easiest people to teach the concept of the abundant career because you get that. So that's my story. That's how I ended up kind of putting my own stuff together in the holistic arts and the metaphysical arts and the intuitive arts. I did it because initially I wanted to step away from the world of academics and into a world that allowed me a greater degree of freedom of time with my children. I didn't want to be tied down to a job. and I wanted to be doing what I was naturally loving doing on the planet anyway, and hence my brands. And I'm now 8 years into that, 2007 to 2013. It's just been an absolutely amazing journey. And what I really see in the metaphysical and the holistic arts today is that there are so many of us who are ready to step into creating their own thing, being in business more and more for themselves and creating a more abundant business, because somehow in the last 8 years, that myth of, you know, these careers in metaphysical arts and holistic arts having to be, you know, careers of very little money, and that was the choice. And can you feel that? Can you feel sort of the contraction in your stomach when you hear that you can't make money doing this work that you love? It's almost like you're being choked off from some sort of energy field. That's how it feels for me, hearing something like that. And, you know, that was a very prevalent belief back in 2007 and 2008, before I started the Flagstaff Yoga Festival. And in starting the Flagstaff Yoga Festival, I'd really sort of consciously put my foot down in a way. And I had actually resolved to myself that I was going to teach the holistic arts community of Northern Arizona how abundant they could be. There had just been this amazing series about Flagstaff on National Public Radio. It was like one of those special focus series that they did. And they'd done this series on Flagstaff, Arizona, which is an absolutely amazing place. We're just down the road from the Grand Canyon. We're at 7,000 feet in this beautiful pine forest. We sit just above Sedona, Arizona. There are just canyons and mountains, and it's beautiful here. And the series that NPR ran was called Poverty with a View. And when I heard that, it was like my skin started to crawl. Because this was the same year that I had stepped into being a yoga teacher in Flagstaff, Arizona. And the studios that I was teaching at would have maybe 2 or 3 people show up at my yoga classes. It was an abysmal attendance. And, you know, fair game, I love the people whose studios I worked for, but it wasn't my choice how the thing was being marketed. It was ultimately someone else's choice. It was the studio's choice more than it was mine. And I felt very disempowered in that. And I felt like I couldn't do anything to make my attendance at my classes bigger. And so the solution I came up with was, I realized every yoga teacher in my community was sort of having this experience, and we all just needed larger platforms. We all just needed more people in our classes. You know, Flagstaff is a beautiful place. It's a tourist center, but the reality is we're in the largest county, the most rural county in the United States. I put on the Flagstaff Yoga Festival to bring the platform to Northern Arizona, to bring the attendance to Northern Arizona for a major yoga event. At the time, the closest large yoga event was Yoga Journal Conference in San Francisco, over a 16-hour drive away. I created Flagstaff Yoga Festival. We sold out the first year. We had 1,000 attendants in our first year. And I credit a lot of my initial sort of just dive off the cliff into saying, I'll show them we are not poverty with a view. We are immensely wonderful, and we can be an abundant community, and we can be a center for the healing arts. And I put on this event with all of that in my head. And when I did that, something just kind of opened up in me too, because this was so needed. And something that I had recognized about that was it was very, very needed. And it just felt so right. And the almost immediate proving of how right that project was to do at that time that I had this snowballing just sort of naturally happen for me. This snowballing of, here's what I want to do, into, oh my gosh, it's happening, into stay abundant, and we had this massive success at the end of the day. It took a lot of trust, it took a lot of exploration, it took a lot of work. But all of that work felt so on target and so right for me to be doing that it didn't deplete me. It was like the work was energizing me. I wanted to stay up the extra 3 hours after my kids went to bed every night to develop the presenter schedule or whatever stage of the business I was working on. And that's something you need to watch for. Like when you roll into your abundant career, you're going to know it because it's going to be something that you really love spending time developing. So I hope you're getting a sense now of, and that was year one for me. I've had 8 years of adventure since then. And today in this workshop, we're going to go through what I have found to be true about creating your abundant career on every level. I'm not going to teach you how to create Almanac of the Spirit online magazine. I'm not going to teach you in this training how to create a course like the Chakra Intuition System or Healing with the Archetypes, or a school of courses like Virtual Tarot School online. I'm not going to teach you how to do search engine optimization or how to run telecast summits or get your own coaching programs together. Although we're going to touch on all of those things because as I've developed my abundant career over the last 8 years, I have done all of those things regularly. So this isn't a blueprint to do any one of those things, although we have courses and systems to teach you every single one of those with very up-to-date information for 2015 because lots changed in the last 8 years too. But what we're going to do is we're going to unpack what is true all of the time, no matter what I create, as the next sort of escalation and outbuilding and snowballing of my abundant career. I'm here kind of 8 years into this thing, and I'm seeing some patterns. I'm seeing some things that I go through every single time, no matter what I'm doing. And if I'm developing these careers, there's a bit of these careers that I'm developing by myself, like it's my creation, my brainchild, my development. And then at a certain point, every single one of these rolls into partnerships with other organizations that are serving complementary needs and complementary goals and complementary audiences a lot of the time. So you take what you create, and in some way, every single time when something has really become large enough to just sort of be this wonderful, self-sustaining, toroidal field of awesomeness in my career, and then I go and do, okay, here's the next thing I'm going to create. But every single time, every single one of those projects you saw on the images on the first slide, when they get to a certain size, we partner up in some degree with some partners, and they snowball, they get bigger as they grow. So the framework I'm going to show you today is going to start you off developing your abundant career if you're just starting out. But know that I use this in every step of my business today. I've used this process in every single year and in every single project management that my business and hence my career has had in the last 8 years. And really and truly, I look at what was successful for me even before the last 8 years when I got into really doing my own thing in a very entrepreneurial sense and becoming financially successful at all of that. But I find that even before, the concept of financial abundance became really possible for me. And that became really possible when I decided to do my own thing. When I started to walk away from the studios and go, actually, we are all going to create the Flagstaff Yoga Festival, and I'm buying the domain name tonight. And I took action, and I went for it. When I stepped away from being someone's employee into being responsible for my own career's development, I took on a lot of responsibility. I also took on a lot of empowerment in that stage. And so when your projects get big enough that you can partner with other people's large projects, you serve that much more. Because, imagine the impact that one yoga teacher can have versus, for instance, one yoga teacher and LA Yoga, Ayurveda, and Health magazine, which the year I partnered with them had a distribution of 90,000 print copies of their magazine monthly across the Los Angeles greater area. Imagine what you can do as a yoga festival partnered with LA Yoga magazine. And imagine what that yoga festival partnered with LA Yoga magazine can do when they partner with Horizon Airlines and they partner with the Radisson Hotel and they partner with the Los Angeles Times to bring a giveaway campaign that promotes that festival in the Los Angeles Times, and that promotional piece is copied in the LA Times 8.1 million times in 1 week. It was in every single edition of that paper for an entire week. Imagine what 8.1 million print ads in the Los Angeles Times could do for your business. And you can see how when I built out the nexus of the Flagstaff Yoga Festival, as we grew and grew and grew, the partnerships became more and more important. So here's what I started to figure out, because then I started seeing this same pattern play out in my other businesses. I figured out, okay, I'm essentially going through the same 5 paths. I'm essentially walking the same 5 paths, no matter what successful new part of my career I develop. And so the paths were, first of all, the path of purpose. And, you know, in the story I just told you, you can already identify this. This is the part of my story where I said, oh my gosh, there's this pressing need for this thing, and I just can't help myself from creating it. It's enjoyable to create. This is on my life path purpose. So, you know, you walk that path and you get that experience of whatever you're building just kind of almost taking on a life of its own, because it really wants to be built. That's how it feels, right? And then after you've built it, second path, path of people. All those sponsors and partners I just showed you were part of my initial path of people. You know, now I have email lists and things of my own that I don't need to do quite as much sponsorship and partnership as I did when I was first starting out. So, you know, on my second run through, my third and fourth and fifth run through all of these 5 paths, the path of people became some sponsors, but then later on, it became my customers, it became my mastermind members, it became my one-on-one clients, and all of these people started being the people that I needed to reach out and work more and more with and deepen my relationship with and provide more offers for. And so the path of people is there in every step of your business, in every business creation, but it's going to be a little different in each creation, you know. And so I'm going to show you the other 3 paths, but as you've probably seen here, these paths are essentially steps that you need to have sort of worked through and walked through completely to fully develop your business. So first of all, you need to feel that alignment of purpose, and we've got workshops in some of our courses coming up that lead you through this. So if you've got any sort of ideas in your head that, you know, I'm not sure what I'm here to do. I don't know, I could see myself doing this a little more or that a little more. What do I do? And you're kind of confused as to what the best thing for your life purpose is to do first. So we help to clarify some of that in sort of a workshop format in a lot of our coursework that we have coming up. And the path of people is sometimes where we identify a market, a target market, like it's a demographic, like who are you serving? And the interesting thing there is every single time when I was starting out on a business, the first couple of levels or layers of developing that business, I found out so much about who I was here to serve. In some of my trainings now on this level, I call these guys your dharmic helpers. You don't really know who they are until you go and, you know, sort of put your own stake in the industry, in the field of industry that you're deciding to sort of specialize in or to niche in, right? And when you say, hey, I'm in this industry, all of a sudden then you're in the middle of this field and you can go meet the partners, you can go meet the people who are already in that marketplace, right? But before you enter the marketplace, that's pretty tricky to do. You know, you can get sort of a theoretical sense of who might be in the market space from doing some demographic research and some market research, and we certainly workshop a lot of that in the course we've got coming up. But, you know, on top of that, you know, you have this sort of dharmic helper layer, you know. If you are continually drawing the same type of person to yourself, you know, that's sometimes a little flag, a little indicator that this type of person is the type of person that is drawn to your work and you are going to be helping on this planet. Now, that can be very clouded sometimes because sometimes many of us have sort of mistakenly believed that we're here to serve a set of people, and we've become involved in their businesses, or they've become involved in ours, or we work for them or they work for us, or whatever our relationship is, and they're really not the best fit for us. And then everything suffers and everything sort of contracts because we're not even working with the right people. And sometimes the adjustment as you roll through these 5 paths at this stage is like, oh my gosh, I'm doing this amazing thing, I feel totally on purpose, the work is flowing. The people who are showing up are kind of weird. And at that point, you're going to go, ooh, maybe I have a better group of people, a more aligned group of people that I could be serving, and maybe I just haven't found them yet. So in this section, we also workshop who that ideal person who is your dharmic helper, whether they're a partner, a customer, a student, whatever they are to you, who is that person? And let's get a better idea of who that person is as we walk these paths. Incredibly valuable exercises can completely revolutionize your business, or even how much you're enjoying running your business, let alone how much money your business is making right there, who you're serving. And then the next path is the path of service. And we're going to go through that in greater detail here for you in a moment. But essentially, we've figured out, the big purposeful thing that needs to be created, or you need to walk in and fill. And we found the ideal people, or the ideal people for now that you're going to be working with. Now we need to get a little more specific on what exactly you are going to be serving in this purpose and for these people. Are you going to be creating a set of offers, or a set of services, or a set of events, or what is it that you're offering them? What are you doing for these people specifically? And what you are doing for these people is going to be different from what anyone else is doing for these people. It may be similar to what a lot of other people are doing. Maybe you're a massage therapist in Los Angeles. There are probably thousands of massage therapists in Los Angeles. But your work is slightly different from everyone else's because you're you. And so that counts for something. And so in the path of service, what we begin workshopping more and more as we go through this series is how you are so uniquely different in the rest of the marketplace, what you are uniquely serving that marketplace with versus everyone else. We talk about distinction there. I do a whole training actually on a book that helps people sort this out, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that in a second here too. And then part 4 here, the path of action, is where we talk about how we are actually going to roll all of this out. So for instance, you figured out your purpose, you figured out what you want to do or what market you want to play in, you figured out what people you feel like you're here to serve, the best aligned group of prospects for you in your marketplace, and you figured out what you're going to offer them, okay? And then you did that in the path of service. Now you've got to figure out how to roll all of that out. What's your production calendar, and so on and so forth. And finally, we talk about the path of gratitude. I'm going to talk about each of these just a little bit more in this training because we do have time for just a little bit more information. So you might want to get a pen and paper out if you haven't already, because we're going to be teaching you to just sort of, well, there'll be some things that you're going to want to write some notes on here in a second anyway. But the path of gratitude is the last path in the 5-path series. And this is where we roll out of production mode. We have actually brought our thing into creation, and now we exhale. We take a breath out. We step back. We rest. We go on holiday. We step away from our business. And in that moment, when we are on that path of gratitude, maybe we're taking a dream vacation or buying a larger home or whatever we have aspired to do, kind of the stuff you would put on your vision board, sort of actually gets created in this last path, the path of gratitude. It's not about how you're making your abundant dharmic career go here. Instead, it is about what you get to do when that abundant dharmic career has been created. And that's an important path here. You've got to get that right, because otherwise you sort of lose the whole what's the point thing later on, right? So for a couple of years there, after I started my abundant dharmic career path with the Flagstaff Yoga Festival and rolled through a couple of years there, I had a big upheaval happen. I decided that my marriage needed to end. So I asked my husband for a divorce. And I had a couple of years there after that where it was really hard for me to regain my footing in a sense about why I was doing all of this in the first place. It was really hard for me to remember what my purpose was telling me I was going to do next. Like I couldn't keep track of that because I'd lost the why at the end. Like everything kind of felt a bit pointless. And so I remember stalling at one point in my career about 3 years ago or so. And the reason I really couldn't get going with everything again for a while was, my inner energy was kind of saying, what's the point? Because I hadn't found my footing with getting back on the path of gratitude. I hadn't found where I wanted to go on vacations now because, my family structure was very different than it was 2 years ago. And so an upheaval can very often send people into not being able to find that last path. And consequently, they get this whole sort of, oh, wait, I forgot what the point was thing going on. So we make sure that we're on track with that after the path of action for that reason. I mean, essentially, if you create something that really explodes and flies and does really well for you, maybe this year, that path of action part there, path 4, there's a lot of work involved. And you sort of come out the other end of that, like you've just come out of a hurricane. And, very often it's like, oh my gosh, what do I do now? a lot of large event organizers call this stage postpartum. Like they're postpartum after birthing their creation, basically. And then they don't quite know what to do with themselves after they've actually got done birthing it, right? So important step on the 5 paths here, path of gratitude at the end. Because essentially what happens after you do the path of gratitude is you see that these paths are cyclical and you get to go back from gratitude, from that big picture awareness of your complete life, not just immersed in your career all the time, but you step back and you look at your whole life and you go, oh my gosh, what do I need to go do next? Oh yeah, now I can see. I'm out of the trenches of all of that. I can see clearer where I want to go next. And you roll right back into the next level of your experience of the path of purpose. And then from there you go to the next level and you go back to the path of people and you look at all your dharmic helpers and your partners and your prospects and your clients and you go to the next level, whatever that is with them, and so on and so forth. So what you find, I found, as I walk through these business steps is that they are sequential. They do build on each other, but they seem to sort of be a sort of spiral in some sense, in that you return from the path of gratitude back to purpose and people and service and action and gratitude and purpose. And you learn that rhythm after a while. That's the rhythm that you need to really get familiar with walking through when you're first starting on the path of developing your own alchemical dharmic career, your abundant career. It's all of those things. I use those 3 words, are alchemical and dharmic and abundant. Very often I use them very interchangeably nowadays. Because what I'm finding is with anyone in the spirituality or healing arts or metaphysical arts or energy workers, light workers, intuitives, all of us, when we get onto our dharmic career path, it's very much, it's as evolving and in constant development, just like an opening flower is. That's how it all feels. It feels like we're unfolding more and more as we go through our careers. And that's what it's supposed to feel like. It is an ever-expanding, ever-unfolding thing. And it's a very personal thing. I find that a lot of artists relate well to what we do walking these paths because the artist is also a creator. Many of us are creators. We create courses, we create readings, we create counseling sessions, we create events, we create retreats, we create trainings. Sometimes we create books where we are creators. and artists are the other creators. And, we really and truly, after a while, when I look at it from their perspective, I see that what we're all developing here as we go through our abundant careers and we develop our abundant careers is we are truly creating a masterpiece. Our life is the masterpiece that we are creating, and our career is a masterpiece within that masterpiece waiting to be created. So that's kind of what we roll through, and I want to give you just a little more detail now on each of these sections. We've kind of gone through life purpose and career path a little already, and we do a lot more of this in the longer course. But essentially, if you want to get out your journal, and what I'm going to do for you guys with each of these sections, just to get you a little more information on how to start walking each of these paths in your business, is I'm going to give you a little question for each of these. And if you want, you can just do some automatic writing, some journaling about each of these questions. And it will reveal what you need to be doing to you. So we'll just go through 5 of these little exercises, 1 for each of these pieces. Life purpose and career path. What I want you to do is close your eyes and envision yourself sitting at the top of a mountain. And you're looking down below yourself, whether your career's current environment is an actual town or not. What I want you to do is I want to envision the environment of your current career and the surrounding environment that your career is surrounded by as a town underneath you. You're looking down on it from the mountain. And I want you to notice everything you can about your career as you look down on it from above. I want you to notice what you're doing in the marketplace of your career. And ask yourself, is there something that I can almost see in my industry or my marketplace that is a need, that is a gap that I can fill? Is there something that I can create that is not yet created for my community? Is there something, some service that I can offer? Is there some service that I can offer that is not quite being offered to my community? Is there a way that I can offer something in my community that allows a different set of people to access my work? So ask yourself these questions and do a little bit of writing. Take a moment here to finish up any ideas you have that you want to jot down. And what you're starting to see is what, sort of a regular mainstream business MBA mind would call finding a market gap, right? And you're probably looking at a lot of the potentials that you've written down, and maybe some of them resonate for you, maybe some of them don't. And what I would invite you to do with whatever you came up with on this page later on, and do this with all of these sections, is to go through these and really pay attention to how you're feeling energetically and emotionally when you read the suggestions that you've just written on the page. Which ideas kind of give you a little jump or a little lift? You know, maybe your heart sort of bumps a little faster when you see them on the page versus some of the other options. You know what that means, right? When you get that sort of, that little tingle of excitement behind something that you've written down, there's something there for you. Maybe that has something to do with what you're going to go and create as sort of your next creation on your career path, right? So that's a little life purpose exercise for you. We have a larger course coming up where we spend a full 2 hours workshopping this stuff in a much more full workshop fashion, where you get a lot of tactile how-to. And then what we do at the end of that workshop is we take this into a much more analytical, strategic session where we pull the information that you've brought through and go, okay, now here's reality, here's the real marketplace. Let's see what we can actually come up with to really start fitting in and filling out something here for a marketplace offer of some kind, whether that's an event or a training course or a service, whatever that is. We workshop that through to that very practical level in the full 2-hour workshop. But right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the next path here. We're going to do a very similar little exercise for you now on the path of people. So, if the path of purpose answers the question, why am I here? The path of people answers the question, who am I serving? Who? So the questions to start asking yourself here is, if I were really doing the work that is fully aligned with my dharmic career, with my abundance, who would I be serving? Who do I want to hang out with? And that's an important one. If you choose a who that you don't really like or get along with too well personally, you're going to be in trouble eventually. It's a much better idea to look at the types of people that you love hanging out with and design something to serve the people that you love hanging out with. Because when this dharmic career of yours really takes off, you're going to be hanging out with whoever you're serving a lot. Even if you're just a teacher and you teach them via online classes or something like I do a lot of the time, I still spend an awful lot of time hanging out with my students. So it's really important to me that I like them. Because otherwise you're going to end up sort of procrastinating and not feeling like doing your work and not checking in with your clients, whatever. You've got to really like the people that you choose to serve. So that's really important here. In the fuller section, so go ahead and allow yourself to write down some ideas about who you would like to serve, who your audience should be, who you would like your audience to be, or who you would like to be in front of on a live stage or on a telecast or at a county fair or wherever you choose to find your platform, meaning this is the platform by which you get in front of other people, okay? So whatever that platform is, who are those people that you're in front of? If you envision some sort of an online part of your business where you're creating a website with maybe a blog and maybe some social media presences, and you're building an email list so that you can send out a newsletter with all of your current specials and all of your promotions and all of your writing and all of, you can serve people online by creating that email list for yourself. So who are those people? Who are your subscribers? Whoever it is that you feel like you are here to serve, you just want to jot down some notes about who that person might be on this page. Where do they live, typically? What is their family life like? How is their health? What are their interests? What do they enjoy spending money on? Answer any of the questions here that are going to allow you to get a more complete picture of who your target market, your target audience, your target platform, your demographic, your subscriber base. Who are these people that you are here to serve? What about the organizations that we were talking about earlier, the nonprofits and the potential sponsors? Who would you like to work with? Who would you like to partner with? You write down some ideas about all of that on this page. And the more that, to pick up where I was talking earlier, the more you actually enjoy the people that you put on this page, the quicker your dharmic career is going to take off. Because, if you're procrastinating in some sense, or you're not enjoying some part of what you create through and through, things just aren't going to blossom in the same way. It's like you gave the flower the wrong nutrients in the soil. The flower is not going to blossom as readily and as healthily and as beautifully as if you had fed it the correct nutrients. So this these are primarily, this is the foundational flower bed that you grow everything out of, right? So make sure the nutrients are wonderful. And the nutrients are the people. that you're swimming through your business with. So that's the who. Now we're going to go ahead and go on from the path of people to the path of service. This is the section where we ask, what can I offer these people? What can I offer them? So what can you see yourself creating for these people in this marketplace with these partners? What could you do together? Could you create something like an event or a giveaway or a website or a blog or a newsletter? Could you create a class? Could you create a package of services? Could you create some physical products, clothing or nutritional supplements or decor or art? And what can you create for these people? Can you write them a book? You know, what? Brainstorm what on this page? What could you do? What programs could you create? And don't allow yourself to sabotage your ideas when you're writing in this way. You know, this is a brainstorm where you really want to not close yourself down. So instead of going, oh, should I put that suggestion down? I don't know. Put it down. If it popped into your head, put it down. Allow yourself to open up and create big ideas and big suggestions. Don't worry about how workable or doable they are at this stage. We'll show you how everything can become workable and doable if you really want to create it. So for now, don't let your inner critic shut any of that down. What a good exercise is for a lot of people actually here when I'm asking them to brainstorm what they could create for these people is to give yourself a suggestion that really opens you up to infinite possibilities so that you can create and put down whatever comes to mind on this page. One of my trainers told me once, and it made everyone laugh too, which also kind of helps with this process. He said, look, imagine that you had an unlimited supply of amphetamines available to you. And so you've got all the energy in the world and you can stay up forever and you can create everything this year that you can think up. Put everything that you could create in this year if you didn't even need to sleep and you had unlimited energy on this page. Allow yourself to do that. Most people don't even allow ourselves to do that. So take a moment or so here to just finish up a few ideas. And again, in the full course, we do a full 2-hour workshop on this. And it really opens people up. People come out of this workshop just with these huge wide eyes going, oh my gosh, why did I ever think that my, options in my career were limited? A whole new world kind of opens up to people when they do this exercise for a couple of hours. We don't even, realize everything that's possible to create until we've kind of opened up. And you might be getting a sense of what that opening feels like right now, energetically as well. Like I really noticed that when I've really kind of dropped the burdens of all the I can'ts and the, well, I should, and I don't have enough to do this. And I get all of that out of the way and I say, you know what? There's a way to create anything I want to create. What are all my options? Open up and I write them all and I create as many and I brainstorm as many as I can. That feels so liberating, I can almost sense it in my body. Sometimes my chest will feel lighter and more open. The back of my head feels more open and expansive. Burdens and weights seem to kind of drop away from my shoulders when I allow myself to freely think about everything I could create and just imagine that there is unlimited energy available to put into any one of these that you actually want to create, because that is true. And we'll show you how, and we'll give you more of that in the longer workshops later, but that is absolutely right. So moving on now, from the path of service, we're going to roll through to the path of action, okay? And this is where we ask ourselves, how will I produce and manifest my purpose? How will I produce and manifest my purpose? Well, you're going to need a few things. The number one thing you're going to need is a big calendar. You don't need like a wall calendar like this, but I really like wall calendars because, as you can imagine, when you create things bigger than just what you need to pay the bills this month, when you have a vision that you're choosing to manifest over the course of 1 or 2 or many years, so when I first had the vision for the Flagstaff Yoga Festival was September 2008, the first Flagstaff Yoga Festival sold out. It was produced almost a full year later in August 2009. That took me about a year. That was a year production schedule. It wasn't all encompassing, but I devoted a lot of time to it over that year. And I didn't have an immediate payout that first month. When I thought of the idea in September 2008, it wasn't paying the bills. The Flagstaff Yoga Festival was not paying my bills in October 2008, right? Most people have an awareness of that. But we really have never actually done the work in a workshop. And I find this is incredibly valuable for people to take one of those abundant, unlimited ideas we just came up with for what we actually want to offer in the path of service. And we roll it through the path of action and say, okay, what would this actually take? What would your production calendar need to say? Where are your goals? On what time frame? So, my first goal when I created the concept for that big festival was 3 months later, I was going to have all of my presenters lined up. I was going to have found them all 3 months later. And then I was going to have the presenters help me to promote the large event. So there were going to be many of us promoting for a shared platform. And then I had a couple of months where my goal was, I went down to Scottsdale and Phoenix and Tucson and all of these surrounding cities, and even as far as San Diego and Los Angeles, and I physically met with partner businesses, partner studios in those cities. And I grew our partner base, I grew our partnerships, I grew our promotions. By May and June, I was rolling into some of the larger sponsorships of events. In July, the Los Angeles Times ad did its thing. And in August, we had a sold-out event. And, but it was a production schedule which really had the vision of what it was actually going to take to create this thing. And it was a production schedule that wasn't just centered on how to pay the bills this month. It took some insight, and it took some planning, and it took some investment, primarily of time for me, not much money at all. But this how stage is where we get specific. Okay, so we're not going to do too much with that in this workshop, because without actually spending the 2 hours going through this with a lot of insight on what it's actually going to take for you to create what you come up with creating. It's just very detailed work. You need to actually write this schedule with some specificity. Sometimes this requires people to go away and do research. Oh, well, what would it take to produce, 5,000 flyers for this retreat that I want to run and get them hung in yoga studios all over the Southwest USA? What needs to happen for that to happen? And sometimes you don't have the next action steps for those because you need to go away and do research to find out what those next action steps are. So, that's something that we look at. And this is also a part of the training where we get into the psychology of productivity. There's an amazing book that Daniel Pink wrote about this called Drive. And in Drive, we really talk about what it takes to motivate someone to actually go ahead and create some of the larger visions they have for creating in their lifetime. What gives people that drive? What empowers them? What ensures that they're not going to give up and not get out of bed and do anything on their business today? Because many of us, when we first start into our own, I'm going to go work for myself as an entrepreneur. Very often, a lot of us go through a phase where we actually get up every morning, we don't do much of anything, because we haven't got a production schedule yet. So we don't know what we're supposed to be doing. We just know we didn't like the job we just quit. And that's actually a lot more common in people I hang out with in the marketing world. We all have a variant of a story like that we can tell about ourselves. I mean, we've all been there. And the clear thing there to create for yourself, with a good foundational workshop before you make that step is your production schedule, so that you get up every morning and you know exactly what you're supposed to be doing that day. You know exactly what you're supposed to be connecting into, who you're supposed to be connecting to that day, what you're producing that day, and what your deadlines are. And you've got to understand all of that in every single day of these larger production schedules. Otherwise, your visions don't come to fruition. So that's a lengthier portion, again, longer workshop in the full course that I've got here. But the path of action is essentially that production schedule part. And book recommendation for you guys, if you haven't really gotten a handle on productivity, I've got an amazing recommendation for you. Author's name is David Allen, and the book's title is Getting Things Done. Check that one out. That was a very revolutionary read for me personally. And it completely transformed the way I rolled out the Flagstaff Yoga Festival and all of my other businesses that I created after that. I rolled out the first Flagstaff Yoga Festival, and then 2 months later, and I came up into the path of gratitude for this amazing mastermind group that I had joined that was meeting in San Diego. And during that first mastermind session, I was introduced to video marketing. And finally, the light bulb went on with my flailing tarot teaching career, which I was equally as interested in as teaching yoga. And I just hadn't gotten anywhere because I lived in this tiny little town, and I felt like I'd already connected and taught most of the people in the town I was living in that actually wanted to learn to read tarot, so I figured my market was tapped out. Well, of course, then I discovered the internet, and that I had a globe of potential students. Most of my tarot students in my last Mastery Club sign-up last month were international. I live in Flagstaff, Arizona. Right now I've got a student in Australia. I've got 2 students in France. I've got 1 French student in the United Kingdom. I've got 3 other students in the United Kingdom. I've got 2 students in Ireland. I've got a student in Canada. They were everywhere but Flagstaff, Arizona. So yeah, I tapped out the community in a sense in Flagstaff. But then during that path of gratitude run that I did next, where I got to treat myself to this mastermind as my reward for pulling off that first large event of my event producer career. And I took myself off, and I was introduced to video marketing by a really big name video marketer at the time, Mike Koenigs. And this just flash of inspiration came in. And I swear, and you've probably had this experience, like coming in and out of showers or doing the dishes, or you do something completely not your work, and all of a sudden the flash of inspiration comes, right? So if you don't treat yourself to getting out of your work, and that's what the path of gratitude is all about, as well as just like thanking people who help you fulfill your dharmic career. And I was doing a thanks to my mentor and showing up at the mastermind group, and then I got given back to me, the vision for the next part of what I wanted to create. And more importantly, in the path of gratitude, when you're off just enjoying your life, you've created a lifestyle for yourself that you've manifested. These are some pictures from my last year, many of which are just freedom and vacation time with family. That's just what I love more than anything else. So basically when you get back into that path of gratitude where you're taking this break from your business, you're pulling up to what's really important. So of course that's when the flashes of inspiration come, and you can trust that the flashes of inspiration you receive are really important, because they weren't just inspiration disguised as need, or need disguised as inspiration. You weren't in the trenches of your work day when you came up with these inspiring visions. You were in the rest of life, which, for all intents and purposes, is a lot more than your business at the end of the day, right? In the last year of my life, what happened when I pulled back from my business was I got some of the most profoundly rewarding transitions and creations and manifestations yet, okay? So last year, I finally moved into a new home, and I have a hot tub, and I have this beautiful big kitchen, and some of the things that I've always wanted in a home. My home size doubled this year finally, and that had been on my vision board for a long time. I had wanted things like a hot tub in my home were very important to me, just as a therapeutic body worker, massage, yoga teacher type, I think. And I'd had this ambition. I'd gone to home and garden shows, just being ready to just afford, $3,000 to $5,000 for a hot tub, and hadn't been able to get that together for, 10 years. And finally, last year, I just made the leap, and I was like, yeah, I can totally afford that now. That's totally affordable. And I did that all on the fuel and the income of my own alchemical, abundant, dharmic career creation, along with some amazing vacations and experiences with family and friends. So I have seen how these paths, as you walk them, really become, just They're everything. They're everything you need. They're everything you need in your first year. They're everything you need 8 years later. And I got some amazing flashes of inspiration when I stepped into that path of gratitude this year. And, and so now I'm rolling out what I'm doing next. And part of that is a new event that I got an inspiration to create. And that event is called Career Alchemy Live. Career Alchemy Live, we're going to be holding 2 events coming up, one in May and one in August in Phoenix, Arizona. And everyone who comes to the Career Alchemy event is going to have done an in-depth workshop by workshop study of these 5 paths that we've been going through in this training for you today. What we're doing to get people through that is a 2-part enrollment in an online course. It's a 7-week online course. The online course is also called Career Alchemy. And in that 7-week course, we go through each of these 5 paths in much greater detail. We unpack the work of each path in a workshop style to the point that when you're done with each component of this course, you have the blueprint to go and develop that next stage of your path. You have the blueprint and the map for how to walk that path that week and that month in your business. And we do that workshop style training for each of the 5 paths so that when you come out of the 7-week course, you will have done the first round, the first development of your abundant career. So that's why we call it Career Alchemy, because the alchemy is the actual bringing into manifestation, bringing into creation of your abundant career, which is what we want you to do. We don't want to just talk about your abundant career and what it could be. We actually want to help you actually go and knock this out and do it and walk those paths. So the Career Alchemy Live tickets are there, but the enrollment in the 7-week online course that comes first is equally as important. And when you enroll, you get a couple of other bonuses. Oh my goodness, I don't think I even mentioned one of them here. If you look on the on the top left where it says enrollment in the Career Alchemy Online Mastermind Group, let me just describe to you in a lot greater detail what this online mastermind group is really all about, because there's a lot more to that than just getting into the group. The group right now is simply a private Facebook group format of you and other Career Alchemy students. A lot of them will have enrolled with us this month in Mastering Your Abundant Career in this package. But a lot of them are going to be coming to the Career Alchemy Live event as well. And what we do in that online mastermind group is every week when that component of your 7-week online course is posted in your course section for you, you can go through that online course and you can comment and post messages to other members of the group, and you can post questions to me too in this online mastermind group. I'm going to be in there very regularly checking in with you guys live. So you get a lot of one-on-one attention from me too. So you can bounce all of this off me in a way that you just can't do if it's just a video course, right? And I wanted to give you that access to, just sort of having the chance to have me pick my brain about your business. I welcome you to do that in the online mastermind group where you're going to have access to do that. And then the other part of that online mastermind group is every week for this 7-week online course, you're actually going to get access to a live teleseminar with me each week. And in that live teleseminar, we're going to go over what we learned in our 5 paths training, in our 7-week online course. We're going to go over that week's modules. And, I'm going to address the Q&As that have come up in the online mastermind group. And we're going to have some interaction there. If you can't make those teleseminars live, you also get all of the recordings for those teleseminars. There's going to be 1 a week, so there'll be 7 of these total. And those teleseminars are just for the online mastermind group. So you've got the private Facebook group and you've got the private teleseminars with me live every week with Q&A for each of the sections of the 7-week course. So what I'm trying to do here for you is really give you a course that you feel like you have all the help you need from me, and you have all of the materials that you can go through at any point. And if you can't go through this course live with us in the 7 weeks, you get the recordings, all of these recordings for the teleseminars and the online workshops, and you get in that group and you're in there for life too. So you have lifetime access to the online components of the Career Alchemy course. And I'm also going to give you some bonuses, but I'm going to talk to you about those bonuses in a minute. Because so you can see now, this course runs February through April. And in May, there's a chance to come to Career Alchemy Live. If you can't come to Phoenix in May 29th through 31st, you can come to the Career Alchemy Live event, which is going to be held on August 28th through 30th. We go through what we go through in the online course in Career Alchemy in a live format with other Career Alchemy students and attendees, other than just you in your own home. This is a chance to come and meet everyone else. And these guys could end up being amazing partners for you. Everyone who's taking this course along with you are amazing people. They're here to change the world too. All of us in spirituality and healing and health and wellness and intuitive arts and metaphysical arts. All of us who've chosen these niches for our business and career development, we're unique people. We know we're here to change the world in a lot of ways. And one of the most powerful experiences I think we can have together is to come together in a live event. Well, imagine meeting all of those amazing people in your industry and have them all have a degree of savvy and knowledge and know-how on how to manifest a really abundant career. When you come to this event, a lot of these guys, including yourself, you might be ready for that next step where you're ready to partner with others to snowball your career into the next ascent or growth period, right? And that can involve partners. So I really want you to meet your co-students in this course. So the live course is good for that. But beyond that, workshopping Career Alchemy in a live event versus online is so beneficial. We have a lot more in-depth work that involves, some trainings from some pretty amazing people that I'm going to get to put you in front of at this live event. I've got some special guests coming that I'm going to surprise you guys with. But, the training that I can give you is going to get you rolling on your alchemical career and set you up with a great foundation to build your alchemical career on. And there are some other amazing people too that I think have incredible insight for you on, how they developed their alchemical careers. And a lot of them are going to be joining us for that live event. So Career Alchemy Live, the tickets are going to go on sale for Career Alchemy Live in March for $497 each. And with this package here today, you get 2 tickets to come to the live event. One for yourself and one for a friend. So that's a $900 value right there with the tickets, over 900 actually. I'm just going to keep the zeros here in my little math computation of the value of this package for you. But you get 2 tickets, and they're usually $497 each, so that's almost $1,000 actually. And then you get the Career Alchemy Online Mastermind group. I've been running a special on that for people to enroll for the full year in that mastermind group for $350. I've got $45 a month here on the screen there with that online mastermind group, because there's also an option that I have live right now for people to come onto that mastermind group at $45 a month. Let me know if you just want the mastermind group, guys, but I'd rather give you the whole package here because I just think it's going to, serve you better and give you much better outcome the more resources you have available to you. So that online mastermind group is there. The Career Alchemy course is also selling on early bird special right now for $350, but ultimately that's going to go up to $497 after this enrollment period is over. And then I'm giving you 2 bonuses when you come on and enroll in the Mastering Your Abundant Career package with us today. We're taking 50 enrollments this week, and just these 50 are going to get these bonuses. I've got recordings that have just been sitting in my Instant Teleseminar account, and I can't believe I haven't done more with them. I could have been selling this, because I've got the recordings of an event that I ran about 3 times in 2011 and 2012. The event was called Successful Spirit Summit. It's really an amazing foundational training to have. It's a great complement to Career Alchemy. In Successful Spirit Summit, I don't talk about that lifestyle design, gratitude, and purpose piece as much, but I talk about a lot of the tactical stuff, like social media marketing and email marketing and website development. I talk about that in a very strategic way that's, pretty good and easy for people to grasp and understand and learn from. That was the work of the summit, and I just found them there in my instant teleseminar account this morning, so I thought, well, those would actually be a really good compliment and bonus for you guys here. So I'm giving you guys the complete recordings from the May 2012 online Successful Spirit Summit, which was run on instant teleseminar. It was run for some students I had in Italy and France, and they couldn't join me in Arizona, so there were a few of them, and we just got together and we did an online version of the summit. So we've got all of the recordings from that. It's approximately 15 hours of training. It was a weekend workshop originally, remember. So do take some time if you're going to access that bonus material, but you do get the complete recordings from the Successful Spirit Summit training from May 2012. And when we ran that, that was a $350 summit. Back in May 2012. The other thing that I had sitting around that I'd recorded for some mastermind members in the past that I just wasn't doing much with were these 3 mini seminars that I found, and they're based on 3 books that I highly recommend. I've talked about the Blue Ocean Strategy and Drive a little bit in this training. Another book, The Long Tail, is one of my other best, most recommended books that I would really recommend all of my students get in front of. They're just really great books to give you a lot of insight into the marketplace that you can put your products and create your products and services in today. And they're some of the books that have really given me the most strategy and the most insight to develop that strategy with as I've gone through my last 6 or 7 books. I've read 6 or 7 years, I've read a lot of business and marketing and human psychology books, understandably, just to become a better marketer. And these are really my top 3 that I recommend the most to everyone. So I've got a mini seminar based on each of those books for you. They're all just over an hour in length. And you get all 3 of those as a bonus when you sign up as one of the first 50 enrollments in Mastering Your Abundant Career this week. So that's all of the, that's everything you get in the Mastering the Abundant Career package, the 7-week online course, the online mastermind group, and the tickets to attend Career Alchemy Live with us there with the 2 bonuses. Normally, if you bought all this separate from me on my website, as you can see, if you add everything up here, that would end up costing you just a little bit over $2,000 for everything on this package. But it's February or early March if you're listening to this training and recording, and I just wanted to give people in February who've already been on my email list for a while a little bit of an early bird enrollment special on this. We are doing a really extensive launch of a new large website and conference series that we're working on called the Inspired Life Summit and the Inspired Life Chronicle, and that's launching in March. And when that launches, basically people who come and subscribe to our new audio cast series with that are going to be getting offers to buy these tickets and to fill this group. So before we do that, and that's going to be in the middle of March, I just wanted to offer everyone who was already on my email list an early bird special. So I can get VIP packages reducing all of this down from $497, which is what we're going to be doing in March. We're going to bring that down to $350 total for you today. So rather than just over $2,000, which is what you would be paying on the website for all of this, I'm bundling it here just for my current email list members and current subscribers. And for 50 of you, we can get this whole package in your hands for $350 today. We also have a payment option there for you if you'd rather do a $97 a month, if that's more manageable for you. We totally get that. You'll find a way to enroll and get this Mastering the Abundant Career package for $350. If you look just below this video on the screen that you're watching this video on, you'll see those options to enroll. So I hope you can join us. I would love to see you in our online mastermind group. I'd love to see you go through the course, and I'd really love to see you at the live event. I know there's probably plenty here for you, even if I never do get to meet you in person, but yeah, go ahead and take advantage of this. Limit the 50 enrollments this week, just because we are on that early bird special and everything. But if you click through on those buttons below and you still see the price listed there as the price you see on your screen, you know you are still in time to make that early bird. So go ahead and get that done with some priority here. Before that, because if you click through on it and you see $4.97, or you see a greater number there than $97 a month if you're looking at the payment plans, that's going to happen when we've already hit the first 50. But if you click through and you see the prices there at $350 or $97 a month for 4 months, and those prices, that's still what they say when you click through. You're one of the first 50. You can jump on this. I'd love to see you. Thank you so much for joining us for this training today. Have a wonderful week, and I'll see you again soon. I'm sure I'll be putting out some more trainings on mastering your abundant career for you later on as well. Thanks all. Take care now.